All right, and welcome back to Press Turn, a video game podcast. I'm Sam, and once again, I do not have Jonathan with me. He keeps disappearing and getting replaced by people. I don't know what's happening. I think he's getting hijacked. But anyway, can you tell me who you are, please?
Hi, my name is Brendan. I am the Geeks and the Grace director for the Discord that we have. I'm a avid FPS player and also an MMO player.
All right, cool. What MMO would that be? Would it
That would
would it
be
in fact be insert meme here?
it would be the critically acclaimed RPG MMO Final Fantasy XIV Online.
Thank you for going along with the bit.
You're
Um,
welcome.
yeah. Yeah, as Brandon said, he is an avid FPS and MMO player, and we're going to be talking about one of those two, and it's your job to figure out which one. It's probably not going to be the MMO one because we'd be here forever.
Yes, we would.
Yeah.
Yes, we would.
There was an update too, so we probably should try to avoid that right now, unless you talk
Yeah.
about it. But
I will try not to because this is about the former than the latter.
well, you can talk about it a little bit, but you know, pace yourself.
I shall. Yes, I will.
Yeah. So, tell me, Brandon, what have you been up to?
Well, just been, there's like you said, there's been a new update to 14 Online. The PvP scene in the game has changed tremendously, and so I've been playing a lot of that. Before, PvP in the game wasn't exactly the funnest thing ever, but now it's like so much better now. It's fun. They actually gave each class in the game like its own like special thing. Before it was just kind of all the same. So, been playing a lot of my core encounter, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. I will forever go back to that game. Been playing a lot of zombies from Black Ops 3 with some friends. That's been pretty fun doing the custom maps that you can play. But other than that, just been living life, doing those games.
No more of that chaos grinding that you've been talking about so much in Wonderlands.
I don't want to talk about that. That's
Okay, fair enough.
it got to a point where it was unhealthy for me.
I see. Okay, fair enough. Uh, actually, I wanted to ask you real quick because you mentioned that um FF14's PvP wasn't as good, and they made it much better now. So, could you like give a quick contrast as to how it played before and how it plays
So
now?
yeah, before which what it did was all the classes kind of felt the same. Like you would pick whatever your favorite class is, play it. Everything felt the same. Like the all the actions felt the same. All the movements all felt the same. Each class didn't have its own individuality. It didn't feel unique. It felt like you were playing just the same class. You were either playing a DPS, a healer, or a tank. Now, with the new update, they changed all the actions. They made it more unique to each class. They gave each class kind of its own special characteristics as how it would play in the PvE scene compared to the PvP. So it's like it made it a lot better. They adjusted a lot of like how the PvP plays, how it like runs, and they also added a new game mode which is equivalent to how Overwatch would be or how uh um what other games like that where it was like you get the payload, you have to bring it to the other team's base and you win. It's about a 5-minute match. It's super fun, quick chaos, and in and out. So that's been really fun doing that.
So, I guess like I'm still having trouble understanding how it works. Like, is for the PvP now, are there like are there team objectives or is it more 1v1 like direct combat or
Oh, it
something
is
like
it
that?
is team objective.
Oh, okay.
It's a 24-man. There's 3 teams of 24 on the larger scale conflict where it's like there's either like, capture the point and hold. There's just like getting team points, holding like positions, grabbing points, killing enemies. That's how you win the matches. And then there's the new mode, which is called Crystalline Conflict, where it's basically just like Overwatch, where you grab the payload. It's a 5v5, about a 5-minute match at best, over time if needed, and you just go in and get out.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that does make the most sense considering, there are literally support only classes in that game. So,
Yep, there's the healers and a couple of the DPS are heavy support players too.
right.
But even the support classes, so to speak, they feel like they're actually like its own thing now,
Hmm.
which is good. So
Well,
that's
that's
been
good.
fun, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay, cool. In that case for me, after taking quite a long break from Elden Ring, still kind of like picking at it here and there. I've been hitting at it pretty well recently. I um I'm unfortunately ashamed to admit this, but some friends of mine from work and I have done a little bit of collaborated grinding, and now
Oh boy.
and I have a lot more. I had a lot more souls to use to just kind of boost up my health and magic points. It doesn't feel terribly broken, but I am having a significantly easier time in Elden Ring now. So mostly right now, I'm trying to wrap up um, as many of the side content as I can.
Hmm.
I, I think I think at this point there are a few quest lines that I have cut off early just because of I advanced like the main story content too quickly.
Hmm.
Um, which is unfortunate, but I mean like that's what New Game Plus is for, and it'll go much faster at the next time around. Um, and I believe I'm in like the second to last area, I think. As far as the main story goes. And currently one side boss that I'm currently stuck at is the dreaded Millennia fight, which has been quite the wall for a lot of people. Kind of like the last big encounter. As
Hmm.
as well as at currently of this date, part of an ongoing meme on the subreddit of Elden Ring with player "Let me solo her," uh, having
I
risen
think
to
I've seen
infamy.
that.
Yeah, which is it's a pretty wholesome story, which is pretty great. Um, but it's just kind of weird that we're talking about it in terms uh the player being related to one of the hardest boss fights in the game so far. But
Fair.
we'll have to see. Still going at that. Haven't really played anything else besides that and fighting games. For some reason, I'm kind of stuck in this what do you call it? Like improvement cycle, I guess, or rather, an internal development cycle. Whereas, like, I'm not really worried about uh beating levels or growing stronger necessarily, but just
Hmm.
kind of feeling stronger, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, s- I picked up Grand Blue Fantasy Versus again, trying to like figure out which character I want to learn more about, as well as Dragon Ball Fighters. Finally, just deciding to go with the team and sticking with it, and just trying to figure out like how to make that work. Um, so and Guilty Gear Strive, similar thing. And I think there's some new content Sorry, there's some new DLC now for multi-blood type Lumina, but I haven't seen if it's available yet. I don't think it is. Let me see. Oh, it actually is. I just need to tell it to download it. Okay, never mind. Um, in Skullgirls, a few days ago, Umbrella came out of uh the beta, or sorry, came out of the endless beta and is now officially released. There have been some updates with her. Very interesting character. She she kind of plays it's not that like she's straight up weird to play, not but I would say she's very unique in a sense compared to Squiggly, where it's like um Squiggly, one of her main gimmicks um is screen spacing, where like she has this move that literally readjusts the camera to fit into the frame of wherever that attack is. Um,
Interesting.
so it's like you can force. So it's like you can force certain situations with that character, where it's like you can make them think, oh, they're gonna, oh, like this person's gonna go for corner pressure, where whereas it's like no, uh, what they're actually gonna do is like put the camera right back into the center. So now they have more room to work with again to kind of like take you back into the corner. It's almost like resetting. It's almost like resetting the space in a way. But if
Mm-hmm.
you have the advantage, you can kind of keep pressuring the opponent to and just like constantly put them back into that corner if they can't figure out how to get out of it or something like that.
It's a cool
Whereas with
mechanic.
Umbrella, it's I feel like it's hard to really say because I haven't like completely messed around with her yet, but she has a couple of gimmicks, but the main thing is that she has this living umbrella that gets hungry as the match continues and as you continue to use more special attacks. It's something similar to Sin from Guilty Gear Xrd. Uh, for the people who know what I'm talking about. If not, I'll try my best to explain it. Um, but basically, her gimmick is all about like maintaining uh maintaining certain states. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
like as the umbrella gets more hungry, it'll start to move slower or do less damage or lose unique properties. Like her strong attacks don't have significant hit stun or knockdown properties or knockback properties. So you have to either grab or attack with the umbrella in order to reset the state, or
Hmm.
or try to mess around with like um, some other attacks that allow her to go into different states. Because there's one state that actually allows her to attack faster in uh or losing the amount of damage you do, which can be good in certain situations, but it's a very delicate balance to try to dance around that. Um, but it looks cool if you know how to do certain combos with it.
It sounds cool.
Yeah, uh, and she was like one of the big favorites back when they did that huge poll of like all the DLC character concepts that they had. And they've already announced that they're going to be working on another character called Black Dahlia, who was another crowd favorite. And it's kind of crazy because it's sort of like it's kind of this ongoing thing with Skullgirls. Like there was a meme of the Skullgirls update party never stopping, um,
Hmm.
which is technically true because they're still updating the game, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think it's very clever for them to kind of reach back into that bag of like old concepts where now it's like okay, like now we're under new management, we can kind of push forward and release some of these other characters that maybe people actually had ideas about but didn't get to implement yet. So
Hmm.
it's cool. Like uh it's again, it's still very interesting to be talking about Skullgirls in the year of our Lord 2022, but I'm still having fun with it. I'm glad it's here. Um
It's nice.
yeah. Anything else? I guess I'll just mention really quickly that um Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle will be getting a rollback update very soon, meaning Arc System Works, sorry, has now re-implemented better online netcode into 5 games, 5 of their old games so far. And that list is starting to get small. Like at this point now, it's just like Hokuto no, uh, their old Hokuto no Ken game, Dragon Ball Fighters, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and something else I think, but I forget which one. It's kind of wild, honestly.
Hmm.
And everyone's kind of hoping that they'll be able to uh go into the other games and put that in, but to be honest, that those might be harder just because like Dragon Ball and Grand Blue Fantasy belong to their respective publishers rather than the company themselves or sorry, the studio themselves. So we may not see that for those games, unfortunately. We might if people manage to complain enough and uh the publishers actually listen, but that's hard to really say. If anything, it'd be better to hope for those in sequels, if that would happen. Which is also entirely possible since Fighters did very well. Grand Blue didn't do nearly as well, but it still sold very well as well.
Hmm.
Um yeah. That's pretty much it for me too.
Nice.
Uh
Sounds like a fun time. A lot of Fido games.
yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting that I'm kind of like in that space again to play fighting games again.
Hmm.
Not just because and it's not even like, I was watching tournament footage or anything like that. I'm just kind of in that mindset where now it's like where it's like I'm feeling like that urge to lab again, even
Yeah.
not even necessarily play online. Although I should, because I shouldn't even uh be bothered about feeling concerned about losing. I lost like a ton of games against my friend when we played Strive last week. So, but uh, I do feel like I do feel like I've hit that point again where it's just like I kind of want to actually like take some time and learn how to get better at these games. Uh, that being said, I'm looking at my Steam library right now, and it's just like there's a ton of games that I have installed that I've been meaning to get to. Like, oh my goodness, like Dragon's Dogma, Near Replicant, Ultra Kill.
Ooh.
I know Vampire Survivors just got another update, but I haven't even touched that in a while. Anyway, I'm
I
gonna
have about 6 friends that play that game.
yeah. It's a really fun game, honestly.
It looks pretty fun.
Yeah. It's kind of uh like you know it almost feels like I almost wish there was a mobile version of that game. You know what I mean? but at the same time, I kind of see why it's on the PC right now.
Mhm.
Um, it doesn't really feel like it could properly have a spot as a console game, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah.
It just kind of feels like one of those games that you play just for the loop, I suppose. In which case, I hope they come out with more characters soon because I feel like people have been scraping against that character limit for quite a while now. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, that's about it. Wow, I sorry, I'm just looking at the recording clock. This is probably the fastest we've managed to just get through our weeks, honestly. So um,
I live a short life.
yeah. um, I guess in that case we'll just get right into it. So we're gonna talk about shooters. And for me personally, I've never been as much of a fan of shooters, although like I did grow up watching my brothers play Counter Strike. I guess not not the original mod version, but the one after that, which I think is technically 1.5, if I'm correct.
1.6.
1.6, right?
1.5 was kind of like a beta version of the
Oh,
game.
okay, okay,
Yep.
yeah. So I watched them play that, like D Dust 2, Office, Aztec.
Good old
Yeah,
Office.
yeah. I did actually pick up Source on release, but didn't really play much of that. So, um, but I I ha- I did find it interesting where like what was it? When Borderlands came out, um while that game was still more of a shooter, it obviously had more stuff going on, gameplay
Mhm.
wise,
Yeah.
that makes it different from a shooter, but at the same time, uh, I guess it still would count as an FPS, but it plays a lot more differently. Where it's like headshots are still a weak point, but it doesn't necessarily mean like a one hit kill or a critical kill.
Yeah. It does critical damage to the
Yeah,
enemy that you're fighting. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess Brandon, you can just start off with how you first got into shooters and just go from there.
Well, it all started at the wee age of what was it? Maybe about 10 years old when Modern Warfare 2 came out. Um that was the first kind of time that I got into FPS games. It was before that it was Pokemon on the DS and GameCube games like Pikmin and Mario Party and stuff like that. Um, it was at that point, about 10 or 11, about a year after Modern Warfare 2 came out. Um, the new one was about to be coming out, which, if I remember correctly, was Black Ops? Or. Can't remember at the top of my head, but I remember not being very good at Modern Warfare 2. Like, I was just like a small child back then. Um, and I loved it. It was probably the best thing ever. And when the new one came out after that, that was when I started like getting into it. I started just trying to get better, get like try and compete, so to speak. And when I turned about 15 or 16, which which was 2017 if I'm doing the math right, that was Black Ops 2 or maybe Modern Warfare 3, I started to actually compete. I played those game battles that they always had for money and everything, and I was really good at it. I was this, I felt like this child prodigy at the time, that could probably go pro, and it was a long shot thing, and I was above average for sure. Like I would be top of the leaderboard almost every game I played. Um, People would think I was cheating half the time, and I would just, I was just a good player. And it wasn't until 2017 16 as well is when I also got my first computer. Is when I started getting into Counter Strike, um, Global Offensive, being the newest one. That's when I realized that I was not good at that game at the time. Like, everyone starts somewhere because of how big of a learning curve it is with the whole spray control, not being able to aim down sights. All these like, nade lineups and all this stuff, like map knowledge, all this other stuff. Um, and finally, about 2 years after I started playing, I started to compete in that as well. Um, I've always been big into like competing in FPS games. I've always been like wanting to just get better, see how far I could take myself, how far I can, um, just go as a player. I'm always wanting to get better. I always like looked over what I did wrong, how I did what I should have done differently. Um, and I had a team. I started my own, esports team. We competed for a couple seasons in the league match. Didn't get very far at the time because we just kind of we always got showed up by people who were obviously better than us. But there was times where we won the seasons. We got like pretty far into it. We ended on a positive win rate, and it wasn't until about 2 years later we kind of all just like faded away on it. We all kind of just like realized, it wasn't getting healthy anymore. Like we would live, eat, and breathe, Counter Strike to the point where it was taken away from our personal time. We would
Mm.
get very toxic about it, and we would get just like it. Just our attitudes got really bad about it. Me and all my friends who had the team at the time. Um, and at that point, we kind of just laid back. We learned to enjoy the game again. We still, to this day, we still play it with my same team. We're not really a team anymore. We're just a group of friends now. But we'd just play from time to time. Nowadays we all kind of play a lot of Apex Legends. We play a lot of Battle Royale, stuff like that, which are the biggest craze nowadays. We never played Fortnite until they unleashed the no build mode, which I will admit, as a Fortnite hater, I'm sorry. I actually do enjoy the no build mode. It's actually really fun. It's actually has the core battle royale mechanics. You don't have to rely on building, which was the one thing I hated about the game personally.
Mm.
Uh, and it's just been fun, having to like mess around in that. Just like whenever we're bored, we're just like, hey, let's play for some Fortnite. But yeah, that's just been with that. And then obviously I've played, a lot of Borderlands. I started in Borderlands 2 and I played every one since and I absolutely love it. I'm definitely a min-maxer in that game. I will try and get the best build possible, see how fast I could kill a boss within 5 seconds of me shooting at it basically. And yeah, just a battle royale FPS. I love any FPS. If there's a competitive scene in it, I will play it. I wasn't really that big into Halo, but I did play it a little bit, and that was fun too. Battlefield, I was a more like Bad Company 2, Battlefield 4 kind of guy.
Mm.
Those were the two that I played the absolute most of, and I absolutely loved it. I played a little bit of Battlefield 5. Didn't really play Battlefield 1. I'm not that big into like the whole like World War 1 and 2 era, but Battlefield 5 was felt really clean to me. I
Mhm.
was really disappointed with 2042. I was really hoping that was going to be like a successor to Battlefield 4, but unfortunately that game didn't live up to its hype.
Yeah. It was very. I think even for me, as someone who barely paid attention to shooters coming out,
Hmm.
when they announced 2042, I went like, didn't Battlefield 1 like come out a while ago? Like I don't
Yeah.
think it's even been a year since between those two. Um
Hmm.
wait, has it? Wait, hang on. I'm gonna fact check myself. Uh wait. Oh
I
my
believe it
goodness, it
was a
was that
year.
long ago? Oh no. Oh wow. Okay, never mind. Yeah, Battlefield 1 was over 5 years ago. Wow. uh,
It's been 5 years.
yeah,
Wow.
I I thought they literally came together. They came.
I knew it was Battlefield 1 and then Battlefield 5 came out.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mixed the two then. That was my fault.
And then it was there one in between 5 and 2042? I can't remember.
Uh, wasn't there the one where it was like cops and robbers or something? Or was that
Was it?
before Battlefield 1?
I think that was before Battlefield 1.
That was okay. See, that one I'm genuinely I genuinely don't remember. So honestly, oh man, this is okay. This is getting weird. Yeah, Battlefield Hardline. Yeah, Hardline was in 2015.
Yeah, Hardline was pretty fun, I will admit.
Battlefield 1 was near the end of 2016. Then there was just DLC for 2017. Battlefield 5 came out in 2018. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, so it wasn't until 2021 uh for Battlefield 2042. So yeah,
It's been a long time
close.
actually.
That's close to 3 years since Battlefield or between Battlefield 5 and 2042.
Was it actually that long? Wow.
Yeah, because let me see. Battlefield 5 was uh November 20th, 2018. Um
Yeah, that sounds about right.
and then yeah, 2042 was November 19th, 2021. See, that's interesting because I think did they all yeah, I think the last yeah, like the last three Battlefields all came out during the fall. Only exception being Hardline, um, which was released in spring, and then Battlefield 4 was at the end of October in 2013. So
I
interesting.
know I know for like, Call of Duty and like Battlefield games like that. It's like fall seems to be like the main like time that they actually release games. It's like September through like November or something.
Yeah,
Um it's very rare that a game like Call of Duty or something will come out in like April or May or something.
for sure. Um, oh my goodness, I forgot my follow-up question. So I guess I wanted to ask since you mentioned you were playing Wonderlands. I
Hmm.
played Wonderlands as well. I actually need to get back to that too, just to finish up the story at least. And you were sharing your experiences with that game, as well as going through uh the post game content as well as the chaos modes they're called,
Yep.
right?
Chaos
Chaos
Dungeons.
dungeons, right.
Yeah.
And just going through that, and from the way you were describing it to me, it kind of sounded similar to like the mayhem levels from Borderlands 3. Um,
Yep.
and then on top of that, uh, going through runs of the Rise of the Cartels update, not DLC. It was actually an update.
Yeah,
Um,
the special event that they did for Borderlands 3.
yeah,
Yeah.
which essentially worked like a very very light version of a roguelike, uh, but Borderlands,
Yeah.
which is definitely appealing, almost to the point where it was just like I kind of wish they just made a game that was just that, which,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, which I mean, I don't know, like I've said it before. I don't think story is Borderlands' strongest suit. I think its strongest suit is when it's focused on the gameplay. Um, that being said, I always found it interesting that like something like Borderlands specifically appealed to me very much, despite it being a shooter. Um, and me not being into shooters all that much, I could still get invested into playing Borderlands. Uh, good or bad writing, regardless. And also kind of getting into that mindset of min maxing a little bit, not quite as much, but still just being like, okay, these guns don't really work on my current build. What guns do work on my current build? And
Yeah.
trying to like get those instead. And I guess it's just like it's very clear that shooters have kind of lost some of their appeal, at least like modern shooters. Like the previous recording I had Maurice on, where
Oh.
we talked about retro shooters, as he wanted me to call them, and not say boomer shooters, even though that's the most popular term for them right now.
It kind of is, yeah.
Um, but it's very interesting where it's like retro shooters are making a big comeback, where it's kind of like where it does rely on the sort of classic game design of
Hmm.
stuff like Quake and Doom, where it's like you're not worried about like gaining levels. It's more of just like gaining weapons, which almost count as like gaining levels. It's just more
Yeah.
external, and more progression based, and levels kind of requiring not necessarily more complex AI, but just clever placement. Um, and then um, and then just crafting like these very special rooms of enemy encounters to kind of like test the player's wits about with not just like shooting, but also movement and understanding enemy placement, and just being like, okay, these are the big threats. I take care of those first, and then take care of the little ones. Where it's like, I feel like with modern shooters, it's more about like understanding, um, or rather, I guess it's more focused on um, your weapons, and
Hmm.
trying to
Definitely.
like learn how to use them efficiently. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, because it's just like, what is it? Like a coworker of mine was showing me his highlights from Valorant, and showing me like his quick scopes and stuff like that, and I just watch it and I go, how do you do that? Like it's because it's like it's not that I think it's inhumanly possible. It's just like it's kind of crazy to me that he can register certain movement and then immediately just go like quick zoom bang, and then like and then just like move on with the match.
Hardware has a lot to do with that as well. It's like
Yeah.
having like a 240 hertz monitor, or even like a now 360 hertz monitor. Even a 144 nowadays will be suffice enough. But like hardware has a lot to do with it. Like what your monitor is, and overall, it's just like your reaction time, like how
Hmm.
fast you can react to something. I think the last time I checked my reaction time, it was actually above average at a 2 point. Um, it was like 200 and like 10 milliseconds, which is like point sixth of a second or something like that.
Do you know how many frames that translates to?
Yeah, I think it was. If I remember correctly, it was at like 300 frames or something. Or no, it was.
No, it's
Um,
got to be less than that,
yeah, no, I was thinking
because
of like actual.
if you're talking about a second is split into 24 frames.
Yeah, it was like.
So if it's point 0.6, then that means like what is that? Like two uh 2 out of 5, or no, 3 out of 5, which would be like I'm trying to do mental math with a fraction. I don't even know how to. Uh,
No, I get what you mean.
yeah. Uh, Needless to say, that's pretty small, right? That
Yeah, definitely. It's
yeah.
fast.
That's registering like that's registering close to that like 10 to 12 frames or something like that. I think. Wait, like just above that or something. Which is
Yeah.
still kind of crazy, and like I mean, I think this is really interesting because with fighting games, those types of reactions are required at high level as well.
Hmm.
Like you want to talk about reaction times. Like let's talk about one frame links where it's just like it's exactly that. Like you're talking about like like sequencing moves in a combo at perfect frame accuracy.
Hmm.
So that means you only have I don't know the math as well, but you roughly only have like a single digit milliseconds at a time to really like perfect those, and which is kind of crazy. And it's kind of even crazier when you consider games like Super Turbo, which uh technically helped with um identifying like how moves work, but required much stricter timing at the time.
Hmm.
Um and it's just kind of crazy to me where it's like you know like that type of concept of just I guess like like really high skill based gameplay can be taken to such a height to the point it's just like you can actually follow the action if your eye is trained well enough to do that.
Hmm.
Like you know, there was a period of time where some studios were throwing excuses at us, going like, "Oh well, people uh can't actually ascertain 60 frames a second." Which at this point, I think
Oh
everyone pretty much
no.
knows it's like, no, that's definitely not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can absolutely train yourself to identify frame rates higher than that for sure.
Hmm.
More than 5 times even now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but to sorry, but to just bring it back to my original point, I guess like what about or I guess like uh have you played any retro shooters at all in your time?
Retro, as in like Doom and stuff.
Yeah, like classic Doom or Quake or
I played Unreal Tournament.
Unreal Tournament. Yeah, that works
Mhm.
too.
That was really fun back in the
Yeah.
back in the day.
Could you look up and down in Unreal Tournament, or was it also on the same plane?
It's been so long I can't even remember, but I don't recall looking up and down.
Right. Yeah, because I don't think you could. So
It was
I
only
think it
left
was
in
really
the
only like Halo where you actually could do that,
yeah,
maybe.
Halo I think is when they introduced the up and down.
Right. Yeah, so I guess like uh maybe you might be able to distinguish this a bit more, but I've always been curious if like the transition from retro shooters to modern shooters, is it necessarily better or is it more just like different schools of thought in terms of design
As far as like
or
the
gameplay feel? even.
Gameplay feel definitely feels a lot different because back in the day it was just like especially with like Doom and games like that like Unreal Tournament stuff like that. It had its core gameplay. Like yeah, the games were different, but they also felt the same. Like, there wasn't really the mechanics that people can do nowadays with like all this, um recoil control and all this other stuff that plays a lot more factors into the gameplay. Nowadays it's all about like, there's a lot more variables to the game, like, gunplay, um, whether how the maps are laid out, um, if it's like if it wants to be fast paced, slow paced, um, like a medium in between. Overall, it's just like it's gotten better. I will admit, like the core gameplays have gotten better. Um, not so much for Call of Duty, if I'm being honest. Things I feel like have gotten worse ever since the jetpack era of the game, with Advanced Warfare,
Oh
Infinite
yeah.
Warfare, Black Ops 3.
Mhm.
Where they had the jetpacks in the game, whereas like everything after that, mechanics just weren't there anymore. It's like, it introduced all these people to jump in while shooting, because they were so accustomed to, holding down the jump button to be able to fly into the air and stuff like this. Um, Whereas when Modern Warfare, the 2019 version came out, I feel like that's when they finally started getting back to the core elements of the game. Things started feeling smooth again. It felt like COD again, and there was the whole like attachments thing where it's like, if you have like a giant scope on the weapon, you'll aim down sights, slower. If you have a suppressor, you'll do less damage, but you'll be silent. There was all these more variables to the game. And classic CODs didn't exactly have that, but it makes you like think like, what do I want to do? Like, how do I want to build this? Is this efficient? Is this not efficient? Will I get kills with it? There's a lot more to it, and I think for the better or for worse, it is a lot better because people just can't take an overpowered gun. Well, granted, people can make overpowered guns in the game, but in this day and age, companies nerf it right away. They fix it, they make everything more balanced to keep everything fair play.
Okay. And then like a follow up to that. So obviously, uh, battle royales are really popular now. But I think
Mhm.
what's even more prevalent than that is that the influence from uh well I mean I feel like this is more true of Borderlands, but I guess Overwatch kind of popularized this idea of uh like basically making hero shooters now, where it's
Mhm.
uh like I don't necessarily want to say it's like an RPG thing, but it's more like a class thing, kind of like in MMOs, honestly. Like
Yeah.
um where, you play certain classes, but the core concept is still shooting.
Mhm.
But do you think um do you think that uh the change in dynamic from more classic styles like COD and Battlefield to stuff like um Apex Legends and Valorant now, is that change for the better or for the worse?
It really is a situational thing, definitely. For a competitive core, player, one would argue, okay, all these abilities that these heroes have, it takes away from the fact that it comes down to gunplay and how good you are. You have to add in all these like abilities that these guys can do, like, oh, I have to worry about this now, I have to worry about this. Um, but for someone who like enjoys the competitiveness but doesn't care about any of that stuff, it definitely like it has its perks. Like it also makes you think like, okay, um how do I counter this? How do I do this? Oh, I could do this for this kind of situational thing. Um, so I would say definitely for the better, but also for the worse. It really just depends on like what your core values as a FPS player is. Personally, I'm not one into the hero shooters kind of thing. I played Valorant in the beta when it first came out, and it was really fun. It was just like this fun thing that like while Counter Strike was kind of in this down phase, there was this new game where we could all mess around in and have fun. Um, and games like Apex Legends, I love that game. I will admit that like it takes the battle royale style, but adds like these abilities that isn't a life or death. Like these abilities can um change how you win or lose the game, but it also is just like how like what they do, like whether it's a movement character, a utility character, defensive character. Like it just adds small things that you just need to worry about. Really, it doesn't actually change the core value of the game.
Mm. Yeah, because like sorry, I don't mean to do this on purpose. It's just I just find the correlation there. Like to go back. So for example, like when I think about the change in what do I want to say? The core gameplay of
Hmm.
shooters like Apex Legends or Valorant. The one thing that really comes to mind is honestly the the overall life cycle of Street Fighter 5 actually, where it's kind of
Hmm.
like Street Fighter 5 kind of feels like more of the same, uh where it's just like nothing has really changed, nothing feels fresh or
Hmm.
anything, and even the stuff that's there, it doesn't feel quite as good as the one before it either.
Hmm.
And then like as that game continued, they started to add new characters, rebalance things, and add new mechanics to it. So for example, like V trigger was there from the beginning, but V skill was added in a later season, I believe. Uh,
Hmm.
and then they added the option to add more V skills or triggers for each character, which is kind of crazy. Up to the point where the final season added the V shift, which was a highly defensive mechanic. The point being is like there were more specific character skills, and then there was a universal skill that was given to everyone.
Hmm.
And I feel like there are elements of that you see in hero shooters as well. Although like it's always tough to like say if one character is stronger than another, but I guess
Hmm.
like for the most part, games like Apex Legends have been pretty good at like making sure there's not a single character, or just uh not every team runs with the same three characters, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
There's at least like a toss up between a handful at least. Like yeah, Loba is more than likely to be in every team just because her ultimate is pretty good. Um, Octane's Octane's passive along with his primary skill makes him really good for escapes, but it's also balanced very well where it's like you could play offensively or defensively with that character. Uh, I forget the other character, but I guess like uh do you think it's better for there to be like these character specific skills in a shooter, or would you prefer like every player having access to like universal skills, for
Oh,
example.
definitely individuality for the characters.
Okay.
Having like every character do the same exact thing, eventually it would just get boring. You wouldn't know, like it would just be like an FPS at that point. It wouldn't be technically a hero shooter, so to speak. You would have just like people doing the same thing within the matches. You would know how to counter it. You would know exactly what to do.
Mm,
Having each character do their own thing, um, it allows you to like change up how you play. Especially depending on who you're playing, who you're facing against, and who your teammates pick.
okay. Interesting because like in a way you know, I don't know the full extent of this, but I know in like COD you could add perks or
Yep.
is it called something is it called something else? Like there are certain passives you can put in your
No,
loadout as well.
they're
They're
just
just
perks,
perks?
really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like perks for example, to me that translates to universal skills. And like, you know, technically speaking, everyone could pick different ones, but I feel like, you know, in that sense there are clear winners and there that everyone should just have um
Mm.
on their loadout regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like those perks is probably what possibly held Call of Duty back, maybe? Or
I wouldn't
maybe, or
say
does it, does it more depend on the game mode?
it really depends. Like, it's not even the game mode. It really depends on like the play style. Like all these perks within Call of Duty, they've all basically been the same every year. If like for example you're running a sniper class, like if you're running a sniper, you would pick perks like cold blooded, and all these perks that kind of make you invisible, to like kill streaks and and like UAVs and stuff like that, so you can run around the map more and not have to worry about, oh, they could see me now. So it kind of makes you a ghost. Or if you're like a fast-paced player, they have like movement perks where you could sprint for longer periods of time, or take no fall damage, or take less fall damage falling from greater heights and stuff like that. If you want to run like a shotgun build player or something, or they just have like an all-around, just like build where it's like you can do this and be just an evenly matched player. There's a bunch of like variables, like I said, depending on how you like to play the game. But overall, the perks itself have always been kind of the core of it, and I think it's what makes COD COD.
Hmm. Okay. Let me think. Oh well, I did say we were gonna talk about it, so we probably should. So Wonderlands.
Mhm.
So
Good game.
I know you've mentioned some things about the post game, but what I really wanted to ask you was like, how do you think Wonderland stacks up uh to previous Borderlands titles? Because I have some thoughts, but I just wanted to hear what you had to say.
Personally, I think um that it should, like, it stacks up pretty well. Um, you know, most people like the story. So people will say, you mentioned how like the story doesn't really mean much to the game. You're more of like an end game kind of player. Um, that is kind of true. Like Borderlands has always been about like the best builds. How fast you can kill a boss, kind of thing. But I think Borderlands 2 was like the prime and beautiful game that it is, where it's like the story was amazing, the gameplay was amazing, and just overall was just a great game. Um, Borderlands 3, on the other hand, you can't really top the story to Borderlands 2. Like, it's just, you just can't. Um, in my opinion, Borderlands 3 was more about the end game, the gameplay, the mechanics, and everything, the gunplay. Um, you know, the story was, it was okay, it was mediocre at best. The villains of the game were kind of, just like forgettable. You didn't really like know, you didn't think they were villains. They were just kind of like the people who are the main guys you're trying to kill, kind of thing. Um, Whereas Borderlands 2 actually had a villain, a antagonist where like you had to kill him or otherwise he was gonna take over the world, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Wonderlands, on the other hand, is kind of like the successor to the Borderlands 2 DLC, Tiny Tina's Attack on the Dragon Keep,
Yeah.
which is what I love. It's got that, classic Tiny Tina, humor. It might as well be like a DLC to Borderlands 2. Um, I remember like when that first came out, people have been begging like, for Tiny Tina's like the whole like thing, the Dungeons and Dragons kind of style game.
Mm.
And when they finally announced this game, everyone was super happy about it. Um, and it just, it has that classic, just Borderlands game. It's just funny. There's a lot of goofy moments, but it's also has the Borderlands 3, it's built on the same Borderlands 3 engine. It's got the same everything, um, gunplay and all that. So it has the similarities of Borderlands 3, the mechanics, but it's also got the classic, Borderlands 2 story. And I think that's what makes it such a good game. It's like there's definitely things that they can improve on in the game, especially with like a couple bugs that you appear throughout the game. But other than that, it's a really solid game. It's fun, and I'm not biased about it. Like it genuinely was a fun game to play. Still is a fun game to play. The end game with how they have it set up, it's got a lot of replayability. You could always just go back in, do more things, and just have like things to do at all times.
Mm. Yeah, because like I think for me personally, there was pretty much a point that I've hit after pre-sequel where it was like uh I'll more than likely pick up any Borderlands game or spinoff
Hmm.
otherwise because I do enjoy the core gameplay. At the same time, I feel like it's getting harder to justify like purchasing every new game because
Hmm.
it's not, and I think you nailed it on the head. It's not quite like Borderlands 2 cuz I mean like I feel like uh Borderlands 2 kind of this perfect storm in a bottle
Hmm.
where it's just like everything about it was pretty much executed on point. Uh,
Yeah.
Even the story, like regardless of how you feel about their writing, I think the story was the most solid in two. Uh, Even though I personally liked pre sequels a bit more,
Hmm.
but uh, but yeah, it's just like two two managed to capture um like a good natural progression off of what they did with Borderlands 1.
Hmm.
And like Borderlands 1 and 2 or Borderlands 2 actually feels like a proper sequel to Borderlands 1, whereas like now, pre-sequel and 3 kind of just feel like full game or
Hmm.
sorry, rather DLC campaigns that are
Yeah.
disguised as full games for
Hmm.
Borderlands 2. Um, which kind of hurts to say, honestly, because there are parts of pre-sequel and 3 that I still genuinely enjoy.
Hmm.
Uh, and and I feel like nothing was quite as strong as the the classes that were made for Borderlands 2. I mean, like I think still to this day, everyone is still kind of hoping for like another class like Gage the Necromancer with her
Oh.
anarchy tree.
Hmm.
Just like just having the ability to do crazy amounts of damage for free, but carrying like a huge risk on top of that.
Hmm.
Um, Free kind of being kind of kind of like not just being a very unique class, but also being like this perfectly encompassed encompassed character that like carried the spirit of Borderlands like
Hmm.
within themselves, you know, like it wasn't just gameplay, it was also his lore, his voice lines, everything about
Hmm.
that. Like
Yeah, he was a good character for sure.
um and it kind of sucks because it's like it's almost like needing to live up to the magic of that again. And that's probably one of the things that's sort of lost in Wonderlands, where it's even though it does feel like a true advancement of uh Tiny Tina's DLC campaign, it also in some ways kind of feels like um a back to square one in a way, where it feels more like Borderlands 1 thematically, if only because like you know, the characters don't really have much to say. Um there isn't really a lot of like tasteful dialogue clips
Hmm.
to listen to. Um I mean I don't know. There might be, but it's kind of hard to hear it among the chaos that you have to do in like every firefight in that game.
Hmm.
I do like the guns, but at at the same time, I feel like some of them aren't nearly as impactful as some of the other as some of the other gun lines, even compared to Borderlands 3.
Hmm.
I feel like melee is a little bit wonky as well, like which is kind of weird. Maybe I'm not applying it very well either, but like I would have figured, since they're making melee weapons a lot more unique in this game, I would have thought that um, melee melee weapons would have held more significance uh, throughout the game. But then again, I didn't pick a class that favors melee attacks, so maybe that's why. Uh,
That's 100% why.
yeah.
Um, because the way it's set up is Berserker and Stabbomancer are like the two most like melee focused classes.
Mm,
So if you combine those two together and you find one of the legendary weapons in the game, you can. I know there's actually one legendary weapon right now, melee weapon that it like it's one of the most powerful um if you have the right build for it.
mm,
And obviously like for Borderlands it's always been about like, guns being accustomed to the build you're picking. At least that's how it was from Borderlands 3 and on. Where it's like you can't just pick up a weapon and it just be like an overall just great weapon. It has to be accustomed to the class. There has to be like um melee damage increases on action skill end or something like that with all these enchantments that they have.
right.
So it definitely changed a lot compared to that. But I'd say melee is actually one of the most powerful right now in in Wonderlands. It definitely has the center stage, especially especially the magic builds. They are definitely more focused on as well. You don't really see many just pure weapon damage builds in Wonderlands, just because of how the game's kind of set up with the whole like mystical fantasy world kind of thing. So everyone wants to go for like melee and magic kind of thing.
Mm,
But there's definitely builds out there that can do like just pure raw damage. Um, and I think the fact that you have all three of these playstyles in the game and all three of them are equally as powerful, it makes it like for anyone.
okay. Yeah. I mean, again, like, uh, these are just my impressions, but
Hmm.
I I could just be playing the game wrong as well. Like, you're
It
definitely
really just
more of an
depends on
expert
the
than me,
class.
so
Yeah, it just picks. You guys just gotta pick the correct class, and you'll be
yeah.
all set.
Because like I think right now, I picked my first class was the Mushroom-mancer, and
Oh, Spore Warden.
oh yeah, that's what it was.
Spore Warden. Yep.
Spore Warden, and then my second class I picked the Graveborn. Um,
Oh yeah.
thinking that I could switch my second class as much as I want, not realizing that only happens after you beat the game.
Yeah, you have
So,
to wait until end game to switch it. Yep.
yeah, it is still fairly interesting. Like, I think in my case, the focus I need to do more is like on spells and increasing status damage actually.
Hmm.
Um, just because like your mushroom minion can get you free poison damage, and then the grave the graveborn's the minion you get from that
The Lich.
yeah, um it adds like a unique type of bleed damage, I think.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
The life
That's
steal.
yeah, like it definitely works in a different way where it's like well, actually it's still a status damage, right?
What the life steal?
Yeah.
Technically yes, but I wouldn't consider it.
Okay. Okay, then I think I still need to figure that out. But it is very interesting because it's like it lets me play around a bit more creatively where it's like I don't
Hmm.
necessarily have to rely on um certain guns or rather like the more status effects I can inflict, the better that will be for my current build.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, like despite all my complaints, I am really enjoying like how they kind of changed it up for like skill progression in the game.
Hmm.
I think and I mean like if you're talking about how magic and melee builds are the most popular right now, that definitely does mean that like they've managed to at least like balance it out a little bit more where it's like
Hmm.
there are more varieties of builds that are more viable between like certain double class builds
Hmm.
as opposed to in previous games where it was kind of like you really had to focus one way or another and couldn't and there wasn't really much room for experimenting
Hmm.
to like kind of play your way efficiently, I
Hmm.
suppose. But yeah.
There's
Uh,
definitely a lot of meta builds in the game.
mhm. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they all have them. So uh the reloads are still fun, I will say. Thankfully they haven't gotten rid of those. Um
Oh, with the TDO ones or whatever they're calling it in Wonderlands.
oh no, just like the reload animation specifically, like
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Each gun kind of has its own, yeah. It is always fun to play around with.
Oh yeah, for sure. Uh nothing nothing really quite as satisfying as the Jacobs reloads in Borderlands 3, but I'll take what I can get.
Mhm.
It has been a
Well, there
while.
is Jacob's weapons in the game. They're called black powder, I think.
Yeah, Black Powder.
It's essentially the same thing though.
Yeah.
It's a Jacob's.
It's just that I haven't found like anyone like nearly as satisfying. Like, um, what was that? I think like I looked up recently like a compilation of all the Borderlands 3 unique reloads where it was just like I think it was the Magic Hand where it's a revolver and you reload, but it's just like it's done like a magic trick where they just hold the gun with the chamber open, and then it's just like a swipe, and it's like ta-da, the bullets are there. Just realized.
Oh yeah, I think I
Uh,
can't remember the name of that gun, but I do know
yeah,
what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, that was good. Uh, but yeah, I think we'll just wrap it up there then.
Alrighty.
Brandon, is there anything you want to plug?
Um, Not really. No, I mean we have the Geeks Under Grace Discord that you can join. I am the leader and run the entire place. You could find that at the website for it, geeksundergrace.com. There should be a little socials thing, and Discord is right there, and it'll take you a direct link to it.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm just a gamer.
That's it. No hot takes on Twitter or anything like that.
No, I enjoy the hot takes from the sidelines and watch all the drama go
You know
down.
what? That's a smarter decision, so I don't blame you.
I sit back and enjoy the conversations and all the people hating on things. I just sit back and enjoy and watch it.
For sure. Yeah. I'll have a link in the description below. To that leads to the Discord for that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, if you liked what you saw here, feel free to like the video or subscribe. I have to say this because YouTube requires engagement. That's just how it is. If you hate YouTube's engagement, please comment down below about how you hate it. Or just talk about what your favorite shooter is, or Borderlands build. Give me your favorite Wonderlands build. Actually, I would like to hear
Mine,
what your guys' builds
mine,
are. Oh
mine
yeah,
is
yeah. You share yours as
mine,
an example.
mine's definitely Spell Shot Graveborn.
Oh really?
Definitely. The life steal that you can do on top of also doing the magic damage. It's probably the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh okay. Is it like a weird thing where it's like because of how much damage the other statuses do, it increases the amount of lifesteal it does, or something like that?
Kind of. I more or less lean towards, it actually got nerfed recently, but there was a bunch
Oh
of
okay.
cryo. There was this one weapon that did insane cryo damage, so I kind of like built my builder on that while also doing lifesteal. But since they nerfed that weapon that did insane cryo damage, can't exactly do it anymore. But definitely Graveborn and Spell Shot are my favorites.
Okay. Since I haven't finished the game yet, I can't really say.
Yeah, you have to play around with it a little
One
bit.
one idea I was kind of theory crafting was going Spore Warden and Stabomancer. Uh,
Mm,
because I think there might be a good way to, if you get a poison damage weapon, you could probably do some pretty good damage with that.
mm-hmm.
But I'll have to see. I'm not sure how viable that would be
Yeah, you'll
until
just have to
like
wait till end game.
I actually figure out like what weapons I need.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, that's gonna be it. Take care, everyone, and have a good day.
Adios.
Peace.